Good morning or afternoon. Welcome to episode 6 of Your Life is the Medicine. I'm Sonny Miles. I'm a physician, healer, and just a human that enjoys the journey. I've had a really intense week and a half of sort of deep insights about myself and my work, and I'm really just sitting in a place of abundance, of being able to look at the journey of my life. I'm 45, and being able to look back on my journey with so much gratitude for the opportunities I've had, for the places I've been able to travel, for my own growth, for my own well-being, and really for who I've gotten to become. Like, this journey of healing myself and knowing myself more deeply is is such a gift, and it's just magic in so many ways. And I have beautiful relationships in my life. I live in a beautiful place. I have deep connection with nature. I have work that's really meaningful, and I'm still working on things, right? I'm still working on my business and making my business more meet the financial metrics, and yet the abundance of where I'm sitting, it just feels really beautiful, and it's work to feel the abundance, and it may not last, and that's okay because this is where I am. So today I want to talk about ritual, because ritual is one of the things that really has helped bring the magic back to my life. And I have been doing this mastermind with Dr. Amanda Hansen, and we were having a call, and we were really talking about the gift of ritual. And I think the first time I thought about ritual was during my integrative medicine fellowship. And Dr. Anne Marie Chiasson talked about ritual in healing, but also ritual in our daily lives. And and so I sort of talked to my patients about ritual after that. I worked in the cancer center. One of the rituals we talked about was creating a ritual around chemotherapy, around treatment, and sort of bringing in intention that the treatment would be helpful, and visualization about how the treatment was working in someone's body. And so that was sort of my first introduction to ritual. And and I got lucky to meet a teacher who has made ritual real for me, who has taught me how to bring ritual into my life in beautiful ways. And that really helps. It helps bring back the magic. And I think ritual can be, well, I think we think of ritual, or we think of ceremony, as something big and involved and complicated, and something that happens in community, right? If we think about religious practices, there's a lot of ritual in religious practice. I was sharing that in traveling in Latin America, I have often enjoyed going to mass in different places because I enjoy the ritual and the energy and the groundedness. I am not Catholic, but I have been connected to people who are Catholic, and I went to Catholic high school. And so that ritual has comfort to me. So I want to talk today about sort of rituals of health and wellness. And I want to start by talking about what is ritual. And there's a lot of definitions of ritual. And I found this as I was preparing for this podcast, that says all human cultures, including our own, use ritual as the physical and metaphysical means for dealing with everyday life and the mystery and unpredictability of the physical, psychological, social, and cosmic realms. And that ritual constitutes what anthropologists call a cultural universal, meaning that it is found in every culture and society. This is from a book called Ritual: What It Is, How It Works, and Why. And I have not read the book. I just found that definition, or that conversation about what ritual is, in preparing for this. So my own the way that I think about ritual is there are rituals that happen in community, like I just talked about mass, or if you think of ceremonies. What has brought the magic into my life, or how I use ritual in my life, is more often alone. They're my individual rituals. And my teacher says that ritual helps make the unseen seen, that ritual is connecting us to the unseen. And I found another quote about ritual saying that ritual helps transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. And we all need some extraordinary in our lives, right? Because our lives can be extraordinary, and yet we can also get bogged down and stuck and weighed down in all of the difficult things and the pain, because there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain in the world right now. And so ritual is one of the ways that I reconnect to myself, and I connect to something bigger, and I connect to my own spirituality. For me, it's become very clear that the way I would talk about my own spirituality is that nature is my spirituality. And ritual helps me connect to myself and to a bigger world. And I want to talk about what makes the difference between like just something we do and a ritual, right? And for me, it's intention and presence. And so we can get up in the morning and mindlessly make ourselves coffee or tea or whatever your drink of choice is. For me, my drink of choice is yerba mate, which in itself is a ritual. But whatever you do in the morning, it can be done mindlessly. You can be drinking that coffee while you're driving to work, right? Or we can do that same thing with intention and presence and often gratitude, and it becomes a ritual, right? If you are very intentionally connecting, picking out your tea, connecting with what kind of tea you need today, or thinking about the coffee or the water and the qualities of the water or the energy of the coffee or the fact that the coffee came from a plant somewhere else in the world, most likely. And that you're connecting to that I am making this tea or this coffee or preparing this yerba in a way that's going to nourish me and make me feel good, right? And so it's bringing presence and intention and gratitude to something that we're doing, gives it a whole other dimension, gives it a very different energy to like intentionally prepare something for ourselves versus like hurrying and rushing out the door and grabbing the cup of coffee and drinking it as we go. And that's fine too, right? Where we all do those things. Like we are living in a busy, crazy world, and we are all gonna mindlessly drink coffee or tea or water or whatever it is. And yet, the more we can create small rituals that slow us down, the more, for me, the way that I think about it is it makes my life more magical. It changes my energy. It changes the energy that I'm moving through the world with. And in a way, it's helping with nervous system regulation, right? It's connecting me with myself. It's bringing me back in my body when I slow down. And therefore, it's helping regulate my nervous system. And so ritual can do all of these things. And it also, I feel like the more that you add ritual in, it sort of creates the container of your life, right? So the more you can connect with ritual and connect with intention and presence, the more that you have this container of your life that more easily brings in the intention and presence, that more easily helps you ground because you have a practice of going to that intention and presence over and over, so that when we become dysregulated, when we're in difficult situations, when there's pain and chaos and confusion and anger about things that are happening in the world or things that are happening to us, we can more easily reconnect to ourselves and what is true in us and to beauty and be with the pain, because the pain is real and the pain is important, and ritual can help us honor the pain and the grief as well. So those are the ways that I think about ritual. I'm going to share some rituals that I love. There are rituals that I do often, and then there are rituals that I do sometimes. And then there are rituals that I do in circles and in healing work. And I will say none of these are mine. All of these came from another teacher or from wisdom that has been passed down from other cultures, from indigenous wisdom, from people much wiser than I. And so these are the things that I have learned and I have taken with me, and I pass them off to you in the hope that they may serve you and that you take them and you make them your own and you fit them into your life in the way that feels good to you and that serves you. Oh, I was also going to say that as an introduction, and I forgot that I drew a card this morning when I got to my office, and the card that I picked was called The Art of Rituals. It's from a deck called the Medicine Woman Oracle by Catherine Maillard. And the card is The Art of Rituals. If you're watching it on a video, I'm holding it up. But it says that with roots lost in the dawn of time, rites, ritual practices, and festive ceremonies are ancestral activities related to habits and customs that structure our lives and communities. We need practices that reconnect us to the soul's symbolic language, to give meaning to our lives again, and to feel the pulse and rhythm of important passages in life: birth, weddings, deaths, seasonal cycles. Let's celebrate and ritualize and remember the great feminine power of ritual hearts. So that was obviously a very perfect card to draw for what I wanted to talk about. So I am going to talk about rituals in my home first. And so in my home, I have an altar, a mesa, and I have objects around my home. My home, as you can, if you're again video, I connect to the objects. So I have a horse behind me, I have plants, I have a Buddha, I have a singing bowl, feathers, and my home is very similar. Like my home has a lot of connection to nature. I have stones and crystals. I have a lot of photography of animals and animal artwork, animals that I connect to, that feel to me like spirit guides. And I brought the elements into my office and bring the elements into my home, like pictures of water, a fountain. I have metal, I have feathers for the wind. I have candles for fire, like bringing in, creating a container in my home and in my workspace that connects me to the elements and connects me to things that I have learned over time and brings in nature. And so that is my first ritual, is sort of building the spaces and the containers that I live in that energetically hold me, that help me feel well, that help my nervous system relax and rest when I'm in these spaces, so that I can more easily access my own wisdom and what's true for me. There are rituals that I use when I need to release something. And there are several, and I'm going to call these rituals for releasing. And one of my favorite ones, I'll tell you two that are my favorites. So the first one is giving something back to the earth. So the world is the pain of the world and the challenges facing the world and the everything that is happening is too big for us to hold as individuals. That's what my teacher says. It is too much for us to carry. And we give it back to the earth. And the way that I learned to do this is by getting a rock from outside and either blowing into it or holding it and putting my intention in it, and then putting it on the ground and thanking Mother Earth for taking that and transmuting it into something beautiful, to heal that and to take the weight off of us and give it back to this powerful container that is the earth. The second ritual that I love is with water. And so when I have done this in groups, sometimes I just collect the objects and I will take them to water by myself. Or if I'm at home and we do it in an online circle, like I will get a bowl of water, and you can take stones that you collect. You can take, I'll often do flower petals in my grief circles. And with each stone or each flower petal, like thanking the stones, thanking the water, thanking the flower petals that you're using for their healing and for helping you. And then taking one and thinking about what it is that you want to heal or release, and then putting it in the water. Or, and then the next one, what is it that I want to heal or release or honor, and putting that in the water, and doing as many as you need. And then really being, again, the presence and the intention and the gratitude for the water and the stones, or the water and the flower petals, that they are helping you to release and to move whatever this emotion or this pain or this grief or a pattern of behavior that no longer serves you, or a relationship that no longer serves you, like whatever that is, being grateful to the water and the stones and the flower petals for helping you with that. And then taking that water and either putting it in running water or putting it on the earth. So it is incredibly beautiful with flowers to take them to a stream or a river or the ocean if you live near the ocean, and put the flower petals or the flowers in the water and let the water carry them. Alternatively, if it's stones, you can put them in water, you can put them on the earth. But again, it's bringing intention and presence and gratitude to the way that you release them. Another practice that I would like to use more, but I don't use as much because it requires a little bit more. It requires fire, and I don't do as much with fire, is burning. And so you can take and write out everything that you want to let go of. You can write a letter to someone that you need, that you have sort of things that are unsaid that you don't actually want to say to the person, or not yet. And you can put it all in writing, and then you can burn those. You can burn the pieces of yourself that you're letting go of. You can write the patterns of behavior that no longer serve you. You can write about the fear that you want to let go of. You can write about the pain, and you can ceremonially burn that. And then again, giving the ashes back to the earth in a place that I'm lucky. I live in a place where I have a lot of open space, and not everybody does, but finding a small space where you can put things on the earth, whether it's in your own yard or a place that you go to that's open space, that feels good to you, that feels like a healing place. So again, it's like bringing intention and presence and thought to every step of the way. The other ritual that I would like to talk about, well, a couple more. One is like morning rituals, and people talk a lot about morning routines and morning rituals. For me, the practice that has been really most powerful is connecting with myself and my body with love in the morning. And my mornings tend to be hectic. My kids are 6 and 8, and just getting and I have 4 horses and I have 2 dogs and chickens. And so getting everybody ready and fed and out the door in the morning feels like a monumental task most days. Like I feel exhausted by the time 8 o'clock hits. So what the practice I have really, really deeply loved over the last year is sort of a combination of a mirror practice that I learned from Dr. Mandy Hansen, and my version of self-massage with beautiful herbal oils. And so I am someone who alarm clock goes off and I go to the shower. And so after the shower, I spend time and it's not always long. Sometimes it's a couple of minutes, sometimes maybe a little bit more, but it's not a lot of time. I spend time in front of the mirror giving like massaging my body. And so I have some beautiful Ayurvedic herbal oils. I have some rose oil, I have some blue lotus ritual oils. It's finding something that you like and then connecting with yourself in the mirror, which is hard. Many of us have, as soon as we look in the mirror, there's a lot of self criticism that comes up. But what Amanda Hansen taught me when I went to her event last December called Magnetic is what she said is don't walk away from the mirror until you can see the sacred in yourself. And so every morning I spend a moment looking at myself with love in the mirror. And I would say that I spent most of my life not looking with love in the mirror. And so this has really been a profound practice in self-love and in self-compassion and in seeing myself. And someone else I have learned from talks about seeing with sacred sight. And so I make that intention to see myself with sacred sight, to see the sacred in me. And sometimes that's just my eyes. And sometimes I can take in more of me. And then using beautiful oils that have a connection to the plants. So for me, the smell of the oils matters. And really just spending a moment giving myself love, right? And I actually, oil may not work for your skin. I live in Colorado. It's really dry. Oil has been wonderful. And so this process of nourishing my body with sacred sight and with beautiful herbal oils. And that is like the one morning ritual that I stick with that has really softened the way that I connect with myself. And then I also have mate in the morning with my husband, which is a ritual for us. It's a time I started drinking yerba mate in Paraguay when I was a Peace Corps volunteer. And it's, I like the beautiful guampa. I like the act of preparing. I put herbs in my yerba and it connects me to the plants again. So I often use chamomile, astragalus, mint, and lemongrass. Those are my typical ones. And then like if I'm sick, I'll add some eucalyptus, or if, some stomach upset, I might add some dill seeds, something like that. But this is, again, a ritual where I'm really connecting to the plants and then I'm enjoying it and I'm connecting to my husband as we spend that time together. And then the last ritual I will talk about, which many of you already are familiar with, is smudging. And there's a lot of, I would say smudging has been done in many, many cultures and societies across time. And so it's a ritual that we are approaching with gratitude and respect for the lineage of smudging, for this healing ritual that has been performed over time. And if we can connect to that, it brings even more magic. I often use sage. At this point, I often just burn a leaf of sage rather than a sage bundle. And ideally, we're finding whatever plant we're smudging with, whether it's sage or palo santo or sweetgrass or copal, or up another resin, whatever we're burning ritually, that we are trying our best to make sure it is from a source that is respectful of the earth, of the traditions that particular plant is burned in. And so again, I probably use sage the most, and I have a beautiful stone bowl and I will burn the sage in a stone bowl. And I use sage a lot. Like I use sage to clear the space in my office at home. I use sage to sometimes clear my office if we've done a lot of work here. And I also use sage to energetically clean around my hands and wrists, because to me, they energetically feel heavy often. And so just that act of connecting to what I have energetically picked up during the day that I may need to intentionally release. Somebody once told me that you can think about, if you want to bring in two things, you can think about the sage or one plant as what you're clearing out. And then you can use something like sweetgrass to invite in what you want to call in or bring more of. And I don't often do that. I often just use like sage and ask that it does all of those things. But if it calls to you, you can use different plants for different things. And so these are a few examples. There are many, many, many rituals. You can take these, you can use them, you can create your own, you can borrow them from other places with respect. I think, cultural appropriation is something that I try really hard not to do. And I'm sure in some ways I am making that mistake in places in my life, because I think we all do sometimes. And during my yoga teacher training, we talked a lot about cultural appropriation of yoga and the symbols. And certainly it is something that has happened with indigenous wisdom as well. And I feel I do not know if I have indigenous heritage. I have not spent time learning directly from many indigenous elders. And so what I am bringing have been passed from them to other teachers. And so they are I think it's Don Oscar Miro Quesada, is a teacher. He teaches the Pachacuti Mesa cross-cultural shamanism, and he talks about the rainbow tribe. And I feel like I am part of the rainbow tribe, and I would apologize for being emotional, but what I have learned is that is a signal that this matters to me. So I consider myself part of the rainbow tribe, and the hope is that we all, as the rainbow tribe on the planet, that we can use the teachings of all of those who have come before us to really make the world a more beautiful place, to heal ourselves, to heal each other, and to heal our planet, because there's a lot that needs healing at this particular time in history. And so thank you for being here. May these rituals serve you in some way. May you bring some magic and joy and beauty and healing into your own life and the life of those around you. Because anytime we do things to make ourselves more whole, to heal ourselves, that ripples into the world. It ripples into our relationships. It ripples into our work. And that energy ripples out into the world out there. And so again, thank you for being here, and take care. Thank you.